Episode 5, Break the Cycle. And it's your boy Icon with a DC television review for you, going over that Superman and Lois. Before we get started, hit that notification bell, like and subscribe to my channel, and let's get rolling. Because this is the Lex Luthor episode. And it was, I'm gonna spare all the unnecessary drawn out details. We got a lot of flashbacks where Lex was arguing with his now ex-wife, and the two of them were basically fighting over like their daughter, their child. We saw glimpses of the child, Lex actually being a dad. We saw moments where him being a dad, taking his daughter to school, and then that's when Lois had came up with the evidence to put him away, and then Superman flew to her school to go basically take him into custody. So that basically like answers that whole thing. So, but in this particular episode, like they're trying to figure out what's going on. Clark, he's playing the simulations of how Doomsday whooped his ass like over and over and over again. And as he's playing those simulations, Clark's feeling some kind of way because he's like, there's nothing we can do. There's no way I can beat that thing. He then goes and tries to talk to Lex and appeal to him as a father. And Lex was basically like, I don't give a damn about you or your kids, and I'm coming for that ass, and, you better beware. Lois now, she's trying to figure out how, because she thought, like, talking to Lex was stupid, so she's trying to come up with a plan B for them to stop, Lex Luthor, and for them to stop the Doomsday, and she decided to rummage through her father's old stuff, his old files, to see if she could find something. She actually ended up finding where Lex's daughter was living this whole time. So she asked Jonathan to take her to where Lex's daughter was. And I'm like, that's fucked up. Because they were trying to hide that girl for a reason. Now, real quick, Jonathan and Jordan, Candace is back. So that's the character return for this week. Candace is back. She's back on the show. She's here to hang out with Jonathan. But for some weird reason, because Lois is doing the thing where she's like researching her father's old stuff and she's trying to stop Lex Luthor, she has Jonathan taking her place. Like, Jonathan took her to Paris. Like, Jonathan was like flying her all over the world because Jordan was like, oh, I want to take a break from the superhero thing. But it was kind of dumb for that, because if Candace is on her way to visit, he can't explain disappearing like that, like all those times. And that's exactly what ended up happening, because when Candace arrived in Smallville, he wasn't there. Like, Jordan picked her up from the bus stop. They were at a party. They were at the Kent house, and then he had to leave the Kent house because he had to go take his mom somewhere. And Candace is just like, yo, what's really good? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, there's really no way that you can explain that. So then finally, they all got together to go to a party. And then while they were at a party, Lois called him again. And she didn't call him, but Lois was in trouble. We'll get to that later. And then he had to leave again. So Candace was just like, what the fuck? I mean, in the end of the whole thing, Jordan ended up telling Candace about the family, about their dad being Superman, and about them having superpowers. They even said earlier, because Jonathan was like, I don't want to tell her because too many people know the secret already. And then that's when Jordan was like, well, it's not like it's the Daily Planet. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's Candace. And if Sarah knows, it's like, because the thing is, like, if you actually want to be with this girl, you do have to tell her. The thing with Candace, though, that didn't make sense to me, when she was just like, oh, you guys are lying to me and you're keeping secrets. She was like, if you don't tell me the secrets, I'm going home. And I get that. But because the secrets, the lies, quote unquote, also had to do with Lois, she shouldn't be mad because it's not like he's lying behind her back about something and like using his mom. His mom was in on the thing because when she was at the house, and then she was like, oh, Jonathan, I need you to do something for me. He was like, oh, we have to take care of that story. Lois realized that what they were doing. And then she was like, yeah. She said, I need your big help with the story. She's like, don't worry, Candace, I'll bring him back. The moment his mom is in on it, she shouldn't feel like, oh, you're hiding something. Because then it's like, why would Lois care enough to hide something from you? Like, it's not. But she kept pressing. Jordan spilled the beans. And honestly, the way that whole conversation between her just being like, oh, Jordan told me everything about your family and about your dad, and then she just kissed him and everything. I don't know. I see that going wrong for some reason, because that was just too smooth. She just accepted that like way too quickly, and I don't know. That whole scene just ended weird for me. And then the other girl, what was her name? Denise, the random black. I don't even know whose daughter this is. Like, the random black girl. I don't know if she's the coach's daughter. I don't know if she's the daughter of the black firefighter lady that works with Kyle. Like, she's always been on the show. She's been like a background character. She had a couple of lines when Jonathan was working at the grocery store or something, but she's never actually been like a part of the show. And they did this whole thing where she went over to Jordan and Jonathan and she told them, she was like, hey, listen, guys, I was there the day that Doomsday killed your father, and I know that that's Clark, and I know that he's your dad. I know your dad is Superman. But she's like, oh, but don't worry, I won't tell anybody. Your secret's safe with me. I'm just sorry this happened to you. And I'm like, what was the purpose of that? You know what I'm saying? Like, what purpose to the show and to the storyline do we get out of Denise knowing the secret? Like, it's one thing. Like, Candace is one thing, like, because that ties in with Jonathan directly. But as an audience, there's really no reason why we should give two flying whatever. It's like, who cares that Denise knows the secret? That's just very weird. I mean, at least with the other guy, with the fat white dude, when he knew the secret, he at least went to the mayor's office. And, you know, like, I don't that. The thing with the kids was just very weird. And with the black people, like, well, she was black people, but I mean, we're the Irons family at. Can we get the Irons family back? Anyway, so now Lois, you know, she goes and she talks to the daughter, and then she's like, oh, you need to talk to your father because he's trying to kill my family. Good old Elizabeth Edwidge, a.k.a. Gemma Simmons, you know, she's pregnant. She's on the show. I believe this might have been the episode that she directed. But like I said, it's nice to see like these Marvel and DC actors, you know, still finding that work. So, but she plays like Luthor's daughter. She decides to go down to Smallville to go talk to her daddy. As soon as he found out that Lois had talked to his daughter, he went flying to the Gazette, and he was like, where's my daughter? And then they sat there, and the two of them went to the diner, because that's the only place in town people can go to talk. They went to the diner, and they had a father-daughter conversation. And the gist of the conversation was basically this. They were talking about the past, and you know, he was just like, oh, your mother this, your mother that. But she was just like, no. She's like, no, father. She's like, you know, you're a criminal. And she's like, you've done bad things. And she's like, you must take accountability. And the entire time the two of them were talking, they were having good moments. They were having loving moments where they were able to laugh, joke, and reminisce on like past times. But every single time it turned into a conversation of him going to prison, he blamed on her. He was like, well, your mother kept you from me. And he was like, well, Lois did this and Superman did that. And then that's when his daughter, she was like, father, she's like, you're blaming everyone but yourself. She's like, there's no accountability. She was like, you've done terrible things. You've done wrong things and you deserve to go to prison. She even said to Lois at one point, she was just like, oh, she was like, when Lois said, I was wrong about your dad, you know, for what he did to Bruno Mannheim. She was like, yes, but she was like, you were right about everything else, about him being a bad person. And she was like, yeah. She even said, she was like, you know, why can't you just get him locked up for other things? And they're just like, you know, like, it doesn't work that way. But, you know, and then in the end, he told her a story. He said that, you know, when I was a kid, my dad walked out, he abused my mom, he abused me or whatever, and then my mom abused me. And he said that, you know, like when I went out and I made it on my own, I was determined to never be like that. And I want to break the cycle in the family, and I wanted to be in your life. And 17 years was taken from me. And then that's when she told him, she was just like, well, she's like, if you want to break the cycle, then she said, you must break the anger that lives inside of you with trying to go after the Kent family. She was like, you know, she's like, leave Lois alone, like leave Clark alone. He was like, no, they have to pay. He was like, you know, they have to pay 17 years of my life. And she basically told him, she was like, if you want to be in my life, I want to be in my child's life. She's like, you'll drop this nonsense like once and for all. And he was like, no. He's like, I ain't dropping shit. He's just like, I want to be in your life. He's like, no. He's like, Lois has to pay, you know, for the 17 years. And then she was like, well, if Lois will pay, then you'll make her pay without me. And then she got up and then she walked away. And then after that, like, Clark saw her storming out. And when Clark saw her storming out, Clark freaked out because he was like, oh, shit. He's like, it didn't work. He's like, the conversation didn't work. Now Lex is going to sick Doomsday on us and we're all going to die. And Clark was freaking out. So, but while Lois was going through her father's old things, she found the signal device that the general had that was used to call the monster. And then after watching Clark basically try to appeal to Lex's good graces, Lois decided to do the reverse, and she took her father's device and she called Doomsday to her. That's when Jordan heard the signal, because Jordan can hear the signal. And then he told Jonathan, he was just like, yo, that's Grandpa's signal, which means the monster's coming. And then he told Jonathan, he was like, yo, you got to go out there. And I'm like, if Doomsday is coming and you know he's coming for your mother, wouldn't this be the moment for both of you to go to try to save your mother? He sent Jonathan by himself, and then he just stayed to go talk to Candace. That's when he spilled the beans on Candace. And then Jonathan just went to go to his mom. So then when he got to his mom, she was like, what the hell are you doing here? Because the monster's coming. And then the monster showed up. So then we do find out that what happened was Lois spoke to the monster, and because she said that, oh, I can see it in your eyes, you still recognize me, you still know I'm Lois Lane. And then she said that on your Earth, because remember, this is Bizarro Superman turned Doomsday, she said that, I remember you had a wife, you had children, you had people that loved you, She said, you had family. Don't let Luthor turn you into, a monster on the inside, because you're already one on the outside. And she was like, please spare my family, do the right thing, be Superman. And then the monster felt bad, and then he went back home. After Lex walked out of the diner, when his daughter rejected him, she got the call from Mercy Graves to come back to the hideout. When he got back to the hideout, he realized he saw the footage of when Lois called Doomsday when Doomsday left. But then when he looked into the chamber where he was keeping Doomsday, I guess Doomsday like electrocuted himself on the third rail, or he cut himself. He killed himself basically because he was just lying there like in pieces. That was very gross. They only showed that clip once, and it looked like he cut himself in half or something. I don't know. That was just very weird. I mean, I would like to think that he touched the third rail and electrocuted himself, but if killing himself doesn't work, I don't know what he did to kill himself. I'm confused. I'm confused about whether or not Doomsday actually did kill himself, and if Doomsday did kill himself, how he killed himself. But I guess after that, and then if that's the case, and if Doomsday really did kill himself, or if Doomsday like destroyed his own body and took his own life, I mean, that kind of sucks because I was hoping to see the rematch between Doomsday and Superman. So now we're not going to get the rematch between Doomsday and Superman because Doomsday killed himself, but Lex is pissed. Lex is pissed because he's like, oh, the leverage that I had over the Kents is now officially over. So he's like, I don't have the monster anymore. I don't have my daughter. The Kents can now roam free, and there's nothing I can do about it. I feel like at this point he might as well just make the Lexo suit and just try to kill Superman himself. But it ended with Lex Luthor being pissed off. Candace and Denise know the secrets. Lois was having wine while the fireworks were going off. That was how the episode ended, and thank you for tuning in. I don't know what's going to happen now because this is, like I said, I believe we're getting 10 episodes. This is episode 5. See, I love Superman and Lois, and I'm loving this season. I'm loving how the season is turning out. My only complaint is I feel like the stuff that's happening is happening too soon. Clark coming back to life, I thought was too soon. Jonathan getting his power, I kind of thought that was a little too soon. But not so much. I'm more like 5% on that. I mean, Doomsday destroying himself is like too soon. There's a lot of things that are happening. I'm just like, why is this? Because it's not so much that I don't feel like they're rushing anything. But my whole thing is, if Superman is back to life and if Doomsday is dead, what are we doing now for the next 5 episodes? Like, where's the threat? Where's the triumphant return? Like, that's my whole concern. But as I said, I'm still digging the show. I'm loving where the show is going. Now that I don't know what the hell's happening, I'm really looking forward to seeing the last 5 episodes because I want to see what the last 5 episodes are going to be about. Like, does the daughter come back? Does Lex's daughter come back at some point? Does she have the baby? Does Lex go crazy? I feel like he's going to just make the Lexo suit at some point, like at this point, and then just try to kill Superman himself. But share your questions, comments, and concerns down below, and let's continue to talk about it. Check me out on social media. Check me out on X. Check me out on Instagram. Always on YouTube and TikTok, where you can leave your questions, comments, and or concerns. Check out my other reviews, because again, Superman and Lois, we going strong. I got Agatha All Along up on my channel. I got Lara Croft Tomb Raider up on my channel as well. And we're still doing The Penguin for all you HBO Max fans. So that was it, guys. So thank you for tuning in. So till next week when we find out the wrath of Lex, what he's going to do next. Up and away as always. And we're out this. Yeah!